Greetings, everybody. We're back around the table again today to continue our look at the new Spyderco Bowriver.
Sweet little knife.
It's kind of cool.
Yeah. Me personally, I'm a big fan of it.
If I were just getting into fixed blades, just getting into knives, period, this wouldn't be a bad first option.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, seriously.
If a friend came to me and said, "Hey, what knife should I go out and get?" It's a great option for $60.
And for that window of being both budget and traditional, it's a beautiful category for that.
And super functional at the end of the day, too.
And for all of you that are going to snub this knife just because it says 8CR on the blade, I say you're full of it.
Yep.
You're wrong, and I'm saying that.
He's been slowly converted, but that's not what we're going to talk about today.
No.
You know, preachy McGee over here.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
Negligible difference in edge holding between 8CR
Also,
and 1095, right?
That's the preachy.
And that's all. That's all. That's all I'm going to say about it.
Yeah.
That's all I'm going to say about it.
Two-tone G10 kicks ass and
Yeah,
takes
yeah.
names.
Yeah, it's really, really pretty. Nice, comfortable grip on it.
Yes.
One thing that a bunch of other reviewers pointed out that we've also noticed is that last little bit of the heel there, they didn't sharpen. And one reviewer that me and Dennis were actually watching earlier was going on about like, oh, I'm not sure if this was intentional. It might be a defect. And no, it's not a defect.
On every single
Clearly
one of them.
intentional.
Yeah.
This is to keep you from slicing yourself because
Yeah.
that blade does not come down that far. This is going to keep you from poking your finger.
Especially in the larger hand, where you're going to be right up
Right.
on that blade.
Yeah, because with my grip size, I want something a little bit longer so I could be a little bit further back. But with the length of it and being comfortable, I'm right up in that choil. And I know, like, even if I was working on something and spun around to do something that way, I would catch the heel.
Very easily.
Yeah.
Now, having said that, I really enjoy the grip that's with a pinch with your
Mhm.
index finger.
Right.
As far as a trailing point, which is a classic design, especially a hunting and a skinning design, this is kind of a hybrid between a fillet knife and a trailing point skinning knife type
yeah,
of thing,
Kind
right?
of cool.
Sharp finger kind of.
So
Yeah,
disc
yeah.
grip a lot, and yes, you can. And that is still dangerous. I
Yeah.
will admit that. But I'm less concerned about it in that grip as I am in some sort of hammer grip.
And
as
I
well.
would definitely agree with that as well because you lock yourself in a lot better.
Yeah.
Less movement in your hand as well.
Find yourself with a
going that
lot more
style.
control for sure.
When you have hands my sized, you can get away with sharpening it all the way to the heel if you wanted to. And it's definitely thinned out enough that you could do that pretty
Oh, yeah.
easily if you wanted to.
I personally wouldn't, but I could. I understand the want to.
I might be that guy.
Yeah, fair enough.
I made the comment earlier that what I personally would like to see, and I would probably even do it myself if I had it, is make that even more of a shoulder and then make just this micro sharpening choil there as well.
Take a little triangular file or a round file and
Yeah,
just
you
leave a
bet.
little notch in there. Yeah,
Yeah.
that wouldn't be bad.
Put in like a little micro plunge line that drops a millimeter.
Yeah, pretty much, if that.
Well,
Right?
not if that, yeah.
I was
Exactly.
gonna say
not much there,
This
yeah.
knife doesn't have much meat to the bone. Like
Which
it's
is good. That's going to be a slicey as
Fantastic,
hell
yeah.
blade.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it is.
But again, it's not going to be necessarily your best bushcrafting option.
No,
Mhm.
Light duty camp chores, yes.
this is a cutting knife, not a drilling knife, not a scraping knife.
Batoning,
Yeah,
things- yeah.
Great for like a day fishing trip or something like
right,
that too.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a food knife, not a wood knife.
Yeah.
in my
You might be
mind,
able to feather stick with it, but I
Yeah.
wouldn't do too much.
You wouldn't want to press it too far.
No.
There's other options out there. You could buy an SE5 that's a tank and a half. If you want to cry on stuff.
Well,
That's not this knife.
If we're gonna go-
both sheath and
I was
whatever.
going to say,
maybe,
we
right?
want to go right to dial it to 11. Yeah.
I think something else we need to dabble on a little bit is some of the inconsistencies
Okay, yeah, so
of some of these options that we've seen in
Yes.
the fit and finish category in particular. Paul, I think you dropped a 7 as well as you on your scoring on Tuesday
Yes.
or Wednesday or
Yeah.
whatever
7
day we're
for,
releasing
for
this
fit and finish.
video. I don't know yet.
the two biggest things that I've found with this knife that I've noticed across a couple different knives, this one's actually not too bad in comparison to other ones that I've handled, but the shoulders here are different lengths a lot of the
Yeah,
times.
they pulled a condor.
Yeah.
Like, it's-
let's not make
Which
that a
it's-
thing.
And it's in that same kind of price point. It kind of makes sense. I'm not going to hate on them too
Yeah.
hard.
we all know that's a thing. Why can't we make it a thing? I'm going to call it a thing.
Fair enough.
Anyway.
The other thing that people might be a little bit more concerned about is that sometimes the epoxy or whatever they're holding the handles on with, there's gaps occasionally.
Especially in the spine and in the belly. I don't know if we can get it. It's super micro on
Yeah,
this particular
so
model,
fine.
but I've seen some not so
Right there.
micro versions.
Oh, to the point where you can slip a post-it note.
I was going to say, I've slipped a Post-it note a 1/4 inch underneath the scale of
Yeah,
one
like
of them.
right down to the rivet.
Now,
Yeah.
that being said, these are issues that are relatively easily fixed. You dump some epoxy or some
Yep.
crazy glue, something to fill in that void. You could do it, and at that price point, it's a viable
It's
option.
worth doing
And
at that
again,
price
you're never
point.
going to use this knife heavy enough really to be concerned about
No.
what's underneath. And
No.
HCR, you're not worried about it rusting either, really. So
Yeah.
My only concern is, like, me personally, the application I would do would be, like, actually using it for fishing and stuff like that. So the wet, the moisture,
you might get some tarnish down up
well,
in there.
not necessarily tarnish, but if I'm gutting a fish and get gunk and stuff in there, and
In the gap, yeah.
Hard to clean and
the grossness factor of that.
right.
The funk factor a
Yes.
month down the line, yeah.
Yeah.
On that,
Stop filleting the knife with or fish with your handle, and you might be okay. But anyway, you're like, why isn't this working so good?
why is my hand bleeding? That's a lot more red than I'm used to seeing. Anyway,
One of the small things that I really enjoy with this knife, it's kind of one of my favorite, just not things that's specifically about the knife. That Spyderco spider that they put into the sheath is just on point. It's really nice.
the whole sheath appearing as it is at this price point is quite nice.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Like, you could easily get a cheap plastic sheath or a nylon or something like that in that same kind of price point from a lot of different companies.
Well, Spyderco's been known to put those cheap plastic sheets on much more expensive knives.
Yeah.
And not blink about it. So it's nice to see something like this available,
Well,
right?
And one of the things that I stumbled on Tuesday about the pocket ergonomics, which is actually how it rides on the belt. And you got to appreciate that it doesn't ride too high. Now, there is some mixed controversy about what people like for that. And as a general rule, I almost kind of think that it's a more tactical. The guys like it higher, the more bushcrafty, things like that type of idea, you're a little bit lower.
Sure.
Is kind of what I've noticed for that. And I like the fact personally that it doesn't ride high up into my rib category.
It's no fun when it's digging into your side.
Yeah.
For that size of a knife, for what you'll be using it for, that's a great place to mount it. Is for that to be where the belt sits.
Convenient.
That's
Just
about right.
Really convenient. Yeah. One of the other things we watched another reviewer, and we were joking about the drain hole in the sheath. The best part is he said, I quote, "There's no drain hole, but you could just probably stab or poke one in there if you wanted to."
It would be easy enough to do.
Now, not mentioning you might undo some stitching or damage the knife with some. Now, the best part is look at that sheath, Nigel.
Yeah, there
Appears to be a hole in it.
There's a drain hole.
at least on this one, there is a little bit of a gapping where the what is the split? I'm losing the term.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, the
seam.
No, the center.
middle
Yeah. Sorry, I don't.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Spacer. Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can kind of see there's a bit of a gap where the middle spacer of the leather comes up and doesn't quite meet the end. So I think that's going to be one of those consistency issues that
one more inconsistency that are minor inconsistencies.
but
Super minor.
You might get a sheath with a drain hole.
Yeah, no poking required.
Just like you might get a knife with that may or may not have a sharpening tool or sharpened all the way to the back or whatever, right?
Yeah,
so super minor stuff. But
and there's some other minor cosmetic issues that there's the grinding along the spine. Around the handle, like you might find little bits where, somebody slipped and they kind of
doesn't
rounded it
stay
out.
square,
right?
Yeah.
Things like the lanyard tube isn't set perfectly center, but at this price point, these are things that don't worry me to the same degree.
And again, I'm going to call out pulling a condor. You got some plunge grinds. And I hate to say pulling a Bark River, but that one's not pretty. And I've seen a couple that aren't pretty either. And every once in a while, Bark River botches a plunge line pretty good too.
Oh my.
But that one is not the best in the world.
Yep. And then
It's not the worst in the world either, though.
And then also with the inconsistencies, the grind lines aren't exactly the most even.
They're pulling a Benchmade on that one. So I'm throwing people under the bus all night here.
No kidding.
I actually
Left, right, and center.
I gave it an 8 too for its edge.
Cutting ability?
Cutting ability, yes. That's the word I'm looking for. Specifically because it's a full flat. It's going to be very slicey.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and it starts thin, right? I mean, like...
But I docked a single point because out of the factory, it's not the best edge that Spyderco's ever done.
No, and that could probably be chalked up to China's
Yeah.
China factory. They are good at what they do, but the factory edge on the Chinese Tenacious or something like that is probably not quite as good as the rest of their factories are producing.
True story.
Yeah, and with Phil Wilson designs too. The sliciness of it, I gave it a 9 because of the reputation that Phil Wilson has on just being like a monster for a cutting knife. Like if you look at the Sprig or the South Fork, those things
Just
are
laser
meant to
blades.
slice and dice.
It wouldn't take much to make this an absolute
You bet.
just cutting machine.
That's just it. 8CR. I mean, that's not a difficult thing to sharpen at all.
And on the note of the Phil Wilson being the designer, I will say that part of my enthusiasm was tied into the thought that it was named after the Bow River that runs through
our Bow
Calgary.
River?
Yes.
So if it turns out that it was a different Bow River, I gotta admit my enthusiasm went down a little bit.
Well, it's too late. Your scores went in.
I know that's why I didn't mention it in the first episode.
But, you know.
Marked down.
So,
Noted.
fingers crossed
74.
that he was thinking about Canadians when he designed a knife. He wasn't. He wasn't thinking about... Anyway.
Before I forget, I wanted to say earlier, the contouring, you can see that it goes down layer by layer towards front to back, but fatter towards the back, thinner towards the tip there. That's nice.
I really like the layer count in that G10. Like, I'd like from that specific perspective.
Well, it's wood grainy. It's kind of cool.
It has a very nice aesthetic to it for sure.
And I think something else that we all agreed on was just the simplicity of the handle. Again, it comes back to no weird finger choils, no like your Kaiser. It's just a stick with a blade on the end of it type of like it's Well, I'm looking at this abomination over here.
Oh, it's horrific. Absolutely.
So again, you're going to appeal to the masses on that, and I think that was reflected on our episode with the scores as well.
Most
is
definitely.
the appealing to the masses. You got 4 guys who don't necessarily have the same opinion on everything, and we were within
Very
mere
close.
points of
3.
each other. Yeah,
I guess 4 now, but 3
he
originally.
can't take it back.
No,
He
I
had his
can't.
chance.
The score was submitted, so.
I ruined Nigel's score, and I'm a little bit proud. If I'm right. If I'm not right,
You're going to feel foolish.
I'm going to do more homework and make myself right.
Make yourself right.
Sounds like Dennis.
No, we're not going to address that right now.
And even when you were talking about some of the inconsistencies as far as the rivets goes, even the placement on them, like it's like they're hit and miss. There's some gapping even on there that I've seen. This model is pretty bang on, but I've seen actual like spacing in between where the rivets are sitting and the actual G10 itself.
Can you see can you feel the gap?
No, it's as micro as it is on the spine.
Okay, that's
like it's
They're working off of stencils, not CNC machines, kind of thing. Like there's a bit of variance and it's evident. But...
as far as fishing goes, I got to point out the fact that they put a gross hole in it.
Okay, so you got to make sure you clean that, or you're gonna end up.
You tipped the crap out of that thing.
Was it the funk factor?
Yes.
Funk factor.
Just call that hole the funk
factor. And then
factor.
there's some funky music going on. And then,
You always got to make sure that you clean out your hole real good afterwards, so you don't get a funk factor going.
Clean out your funk hole.
Yeah. Now, the one thing that I noticed as well was the new kitchen knives that Spyderco is trying to promote that hopefully will be coming out soon here.
Right.
No hole. Now, one of the big reasons I personally think of is because they were using Hitachi blue, which will rust if you look at it funny.
Yep.
But I would like to see them take suit and maybe adopt some no-hole policies on hunting and or fishing knives just for the cleanliness factor.
Would be nice.
Like I understand it's Spyderco's trademark, but
just put a black.
There's a hole right here. There's a hole right here. You can just use this. Nigel already cuts backwards. Maybe he got confused by the hole.
Can you Spidey flick it?
That's why I got confused, because the hole was in the wrong place.
Spidey drop it into your wrist.
I tried to reverse grip it, and now I'm at the hospital.
The fish got away.
But he was this big.
20 pounds, something ounces?
Yeah, 20 pound 4 ounces for the giant one.
I wonder what the other Bow River's record is. Let's compete.
Now it's a pissing contest.
But yeah, I think that we've revolted into some silliness here, so it's probably a good sign that we've run out of things to talk about.
Realistically speaking, I think
Yep.
everyone just, again, in an agreement.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a nice knife for sure.
Starter knife, something you can recommend, but for the knife nerds that are sitting here, probably none of us will own it. Maybe Joe, because he's converting about HCR. But anyway.
Mhm.
If I like the design enough, Yeah.
Yeah, once again, going to give a big giant thank out to the Cutting Edge for helping us out with having toys to play with for the review for you guys.
Thanks for the sample sizes.
Yeah. And also getting to check out the ones on the shelf.
That's what I mean. Multiple
You could just
selections,
leave
right?
now, right?
Yeah, I think that's for the best.
Take your mic
Really?
off.
That's what did it?
Yeah.
Of all the things I've said?
That was the line.
Jesus, I was concerned.
As well, we got to mention the fact that we do have a Patreon as well. We'd love for some donations towards some stuff. We want to get some better gear. We want to get some better equipment for everyone.
Dollars go right back into the channel.
You bet.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Right.
every single penny, including giveaways, draws, contests, things like that. I have been quoted as saying 500 members on our Instagram page.
We're not there yet.
We're not there yet.
No.
But when it comes up, as something out of my own collection, within reason,
Dude, we get to decide.
No,
Oh, God damn it.
there is not a voting competition going on in my own personal
Just put
collection.
up a couple knives and we'll pick.
Say goodbye to your Spyderco Tough. Yeah.
Speaking of Instagram page,
Yes. Head on over to the Pokey Factor to follow us for behind the scenes shenanigans and, silly things that we might be trying to eat and
Watch me get kicked out of the house multiple times per night.
every week. And he comes back. You gotta
Doesn't work.
you gotta love that tenacity.
Mhm.
that's going to become a thing now. It's going to be awesome.
Excellent.
But yeah, follow us at the Pokey Factor.
Mhm.
Do it.
Yeah, and that's pretty much all that we have to say for this guy. So yeah, if you're a fishing enthusiast in any way, definitely check this one out. It will do good in the tackle box.
Yeah.
Will also do good in many other ways. So if you're interested in it, definitely check it out. It is a nice knife.
And he's got Spyderco's reputation and warranty behind
Yes,
it as well.
absolutely.
So you're not just buying a no name.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So
Yeah, it is a good thing. But yeah, that being that, this is Nigel the Smith signing off.
I am who I am. I'm Dennis Vipers.
I am the Iron Joe.
And I'm XL.ca.
We will catch you again next week.
We don't need bigger knife. Yeah.